Hey everybody, Obey the Papaya back at you again with another YouTube video. So this YouTube video is going to be the long-awaited tier list. My opinion, I'm a solo pub player, so my tier list is going to be very biased into solo play. So the best characters to climb up ELO, to help you, be in the meta. And yeah, so we're going to go through, we're going to talk about each character. I'll list them up, and then at the end, we'll see if I decide on changing the position of everything. Just a quick summary. I think majority of characters are actually, relative to the meta, are balanced well. I don't like the current meta personally, but to the meta, they're balanced well. So a lot of these characters are going to be a little bit, they could be a little bit higher, a little bit lower than where I would place them, right? I'm just going to place them in where I think is the most comfortable. You guys can let me know in the comments, leave a like or a dislike or a sub if you want to, share your opinion or agree with me more. But yeah, so let's get straight into it because I'm sure it's going to be a really long video. All right, so we're going to start off first with Crunch. So Crunch, really strong, a little bit slow in the early game, really ramps up though, really strong, probably one of the best duelists in the game. The thing with Crunch, right, is that he is stopped by one form of CC and the team kind of getting onto him. He's really strong though. He has really solid carry potential. And I would honestly I'd bias him towards the A side because of the amount of pressure he's able to kind of put on top of the laner, his roam potential, his amount of burst, getting a 2-3 man knock up with his E. He is really solid in that. But yeah, so that's where I would rate Crunch. Next we got is Iggy. So Iggy has been really falling off in the mid lane. You can farm a lot really easily. You can kind of punish your mid laner, but he falls off even with objective control. He's known to place his turrets to take the objective, right? But if there's a fight going on, people see his turrets. They don't necessarily lock on that much. They don't do as much damage. His ultimate is still on the weaker side of things, having to be really close, easily cancelable. He's not a non-interruptible ult, so he's kind of stuck, and he has some trouble in the current meta. So I'm gonna put him here on the C side of things. Next we got Wraith. So everyone goes, Wraith is overpowered, or they say he's underpowered. Now Wraith is very strong when people hit their shots, right? But that's the thing. He's a single target burster. He misses one of his shots, he is now in a big dilemma, right? But he has a really good chance of farming, really good damage output, an ultimate that's able to bring enemies back, make them use their cleanse. He outputs a ton of damage, right? So I'm considering him more as a mid lane player because ADCs that throw consistent damage, like Twin Blast, Drongo, they're very dominant, as in ADC carry lane and solo level play, right? So Wraith is gonna go, to me, biased towards A tier in mid lane. Could drop to a B tier in carry, mainly because, like I said, you're kind of losing that consistent damage. I still would bias him more towards A tier, but he could kind of fall, like, I could see a reason to pick him into B as a carry because he kind of requires that skill, right? If you're not hitting your shots, you're missing out on the ADC's damage. I feel like it's a lot easier to hit shots with Murdoch, with Drongo, with Twin Blast even, right? So it's kind of why, like, I would bias him a bit towards the B side, but an A side in terms of mid. All right, so next we got Twin Blast. So Twin Blast is one of the strongest characters in the game right now. He has multiple builds if you want to go shred on the tanks, shred the carries, shred the squishies, right? He has insane clear, he has insane pressure. Everything about his kit is so strong, and it's kind of one reason why he's such a popular carry in high level play, in pro play, just overall. He does require, you have to hit, kind of position, if you want to fight the enemy, right, you do have to hit that Q, and it's a lot of pressure to hit that Q in a way. And you have to kind of hit the RMBs, but you're able to apply so much, assuming you're not you're not talking about natural skill per se. Twin Blast, phenomenal carry, probably one of the best carries in the game. He's able to farm easily, output a ton of damage, has a lot of build possibilities. I'm gonna take him. I think it's gonna be the first S tier we're gonna see. All right. Next, we got Revenant. So Revenant has a ton of damage output, but that's kind of it. Utility. He has a nice ultimate that can take a jungler out to guarantee like a smite on a prime or on an objective, but he doesn't have too much in his kit that makes him that much better than other ADCs. He throws out a lot of damage. When you talk about team fight, he has a strong basic attack, Q, EQ, and put a ton of damage. Sorry, basic attack, and then uses obliterate. He throw out a ton of damage. That's kind of all he really has, and he kind of falls off on that. He's a little bit slower on taking objectives compared to other carries and whatnot. I'm gonna bias him towards a B or C. I'm gonna put him in C because he's just less common. Like, you don't see him often. There's just better carries, is why I want to put him at a C. It's just that he outputs a ton of damage but doesn't provide enough of a utility. Doesn't have a very solid build path overall. If you're against a tank and like a steal, the steal's gonna murder you, right? Other carries have a potential to kind of escape, do some sort of play, so that's where I'm gonna put Revenant. Next we got is Kira. So Kira is actually very strong, surprisingly even for me. She outputs a ton of basic attack damage, but the problem is her clear is absolutely trash can. She has terrible levels of clear. Her ultimate is basically useless in team fights because you shouldn't really be in that situation with the amount of tanks and CCs in the game to where you're close and you're going to get a nice ultimate. You can use the ultimate through walls, and I've done a lot of plays like that where it's helped me out a lot. So Kira's damage is really good for single target and taking tanks. I'm going to give her a B, and she has an escape and an engage with her secondary ability. So I'm going to give her a B. So next we got is Decker. Decker, super strong support, ton of stuns, ton of CC, really annoying to just play against. Just really offensive, really aggressive in general. In pubs, I really want her as my support. I want her and Belica, right? I love the range. I love the pressure you can put on the laner. She provides really good escape, a ton of CC. I am honestly going to throw her onto an S tier. She's just that strong of a support in my opinion that I need to throw her up there. Next we got is Morgish. So Morgish, I haven't played her for a while because of the Mega Cosm nerf really did affect her, but she got 2 recent buffs with the recent patches that happened that I did not try her out after, and she does so much damage with such an easy way of farming, staying in lane, and then pretty fast clear. And she's just so easy to play that all you have to do is focus on your positioning and help out your carry, that I really am gonna have to put her at an A tier. Like, I've just been dominating with her by playing her. Like, absolute domination. It's just easy to play with her. She doesn't have an escape, but her E allows you to go through people, and it gives you movement speed, and it gives you HP. As long as you're basically about fully, about 3/4 of HP, you can comfortably push up a lane, have the jungler come and gank you, and you can escape with almost every jungler that's in the game, basically fighting you. The movement speed allows you to dodge like roots, and stuff from Kwang and Sevrog. She's just an absolute monster and does so much damage, and her ult is just insane. Next we got Greystone. So Greystone, y'all see me play him. He's extremely strong. The reason why I like Greystone is because he's literally annoying as hell. He doesn't have as much CC, but he's annoying as hell. What that means is that he will literally just annoy the carry in fights. He will just go and annoy two people. The support and the carry will just be focused on him. Maybe everybody will be focused on him. You just eliminate people off of that, right? And he's a pretty easy off laner to fight. If you have your RMB up, you're allowed to be aggressive. You get engaged on, you just fly away and you're safe. Once you get your ultimate, it's the same thing, even safer. So you're just able to farm really, really easily after your 6, have solid engages, be really annoying. I'm going to have to give him an A because he does still require an overall team, because he doesn't output that much damage where it becomes like, an issue. He doesn't have that much CC to where people are, going to get absolutely beat up on him. He's close to an S tier, he's much more closer to an S tier than a B tier. So that's where I would put Gray. So Grux. Now you guys are going to go, Grux is so broken in low elo. Grux has a lot of damage. Y'all saw the guide I made. A lot of damage, but falls off in fights. Easily CCable. Can't output the damage when CC'd. Easily bursted. It takes time for him to ramp up in fights. His only ability is having a strong early game lead. And from that he could maybe ramp up, but he falls off. I'm going to have to give him a B tier. You can still dominate with him, right, and carry out of like lower levels, but that's kind of it. In terms of once you get into higher level play, he falls off. Next we got Kalari. Kalari requires a lot of skill. If you have the skill, she is easily an A, probably an S tier. She just outputs so much damage, has such solid burst. Her jungle clear is the only thing that's a little bit slow early, but you know, and she's not tanky. But man, if you get rid of the ADC and you know how to just position properly all the way up to Masters and Grandmaster ELO, she's a problem, especially in pubs where communication is really hard to do. It's an A tier easily. I only get rid of S tier because I want to put S tier for people that fit everything perfectly, basically. Like almost near perfect at least. She does not do everything perfectly, right? A lot of burst, but that's kind of it. What CC does she have? She's very annoying. That's where I'm going to put her. Chimera. So Chimera, really, really strong jungler right now in general, through the entire meta. I mean, he's just a problem everywhere. He has insane sustain, really good early game damage. His ultimate stun. You know, he's kind of like Greystone. Not as overall as tanky as Greystone through his build, but he's just a monster. The con of Chimera is that if you have like a lane that is not doing well, you're gonna fall off with Chimera. Like if they're just getting beat up, you can't gank them. You can't really gank in the other lane. You can get strong, but it's, you know, one form of CC, right, that gets rid of his E and then a little bit of more like burst CC onto that, and he's not able to really get that jump on. You know, if he against phases, if he's against countesses, and you know, he kind of does fall off a bit in that. I'm gonna put him in A tier, closer to S than A, but it's just because his sustain is really good, but you need to, you know, you need to ramp up for that sustain. All right, next is Muriel on the list. So I like Muriel a lot. When you have a Twin Blast, Muriel is good. When you have Drongo and Murdoch, she's can be as good. When you have Akira, when you have Revenant and all that stuff, you know, she becomes a little bit of an issue because it's just that you're gonna probably put two people that don't have an escape now that allows for the Chimera ganks, for the Kalari ganks, absolutely demolish, you know, a Muriel. And she is really strong for say, and she provides the shields. She has to scale up there. And from what I've seen, I don't really see that very often. I'm gonna put her on a B. Granted, if you become a Muriel god, she is a phenomenal support. So that's the one thing. I'm gonna put her B, maybe closer to C. It's just that she has really strong like level 3 poke, right? With her abilities coming up and just being able to hit the ADC early on. But that's just kind of it. She has no escape. And with a very jungler heavy meta with ganks and whatnot, she worries me in that situation, which is where I avoid her. Next, we got Narbash. So Narbash, really strong support. It's a little bit tough. So he has really high win rate and low elo because people don't like to fight in low elo. From watching VODs and whatnot, you know, but he can be punished, but overall his kit into late game scales phenomenally. His kit is just such a scale machine that it's like if he didn't scale as much, I put him into a B, right? Because I feel like Decker does kind of more except the heals, but like he just scales so ridiculously hard that if you just don't feed the lane and just let him scale, even if you're down on farm, like I have to give him an A tier. And I only kind of put A tier because like you're not going to be playing Grandmaster level like all the time, right? So like otherwise he would be near an S tier. He just provides so much utility with his kit to everybody. So he's just a phenomenal, you know, he applies the Tainted Totem on everybody basically. He's just insane. He's a monster. So I'm going to give Narbash the A tier. The first support with the A tier. Oh, sorry. Decker is up there. Next we got is Phase. Now Phase is really, really strong. But you need a Phase when you have a team that kind of has an idea of what you're doing. Her pull, ridiculous, right? Annoys the hell out of enemy lane. Completely negates Richter. You know, negates anything. Just basically she's able to play safe. As long as you have wards on your back, you're basically safe with Phase. Like, that's it. So I have to honestly throw in... it's like... It's a skill matchup overall, right? Like, that's my one con. When I do see a Phase, I get excited to see one, but I get a little bit worried on how aggressive they are. I have to actually put her at A tier. I'm borderline closer to B tier because, like I said, it's kind of when I'm in lane, who do I want to see? I worry about a Phase if they're going to be aggressive or not, you know? and if they ward properly. But if you're gonna talk about, kind of what your goal is, even if you want to play this to PUB-STOMP and all that, and you picked a phase support, phase is gonna set up a lot of good, kills for you. You basically just throw roots. It's almost guaranteed to hit if they're in an open space. Now they're rooted. Throw CC, damage, whatever. Boom. That's what phase has for you. All right, so next on the list, Countess, my favorite character. I'm going to probably provide some bias on here. I think Countess with Time Flux right now is absolutely phenomenal. She still can get punished. For me, I would label her S tier because I feel I play her really well, right? And she's a problem when you have a good person play her. She's scary. You have to play properly with her. I'm going to throw her in the A tier because her E does damage, or her secondary ability does damage through walls. She has her annoying teleport ability. She has insane damage and burst. With Time Flux, she basically has all those abilities up back within 4 seconds. She just outputs so much damage. I think her laning is actually pretty easy. If you watch any of my videos, I have to give her the A tier crown. She's an absolute monster. Argus is crazy as a support, and he's crazy as a mid. Pretty easy farm, extremely long range. That Q setup is insane. He literally provides everything. I'm borderline in terms of A and S tier, but he's just so easy overall to play, but he's also really squishy. It's tough for me to give him the S tier in reality, but that stun is so huge. That stun and placing the E properly when you know how to play him like me is just so insanely strong. I'm gonna say I'm gonna throw the S tier because he is insane. He's insane. That's it. Like, I only wanted to give A tier because if you miss those things, he's kind of messed up. But he outputs so much damage. I mean, plus I also run Time Flux on him, and I basically get 2 stuns in 4 seconds. I get an entire kit in 4 seconds. It's just, he's so strong, especially with Time Flux right now. Next we got is Gideon. Now Gideon, he's the best mid laner in terms of having every single thing in his kit. He has a way to play safe in mid. He has insane clear, insane damage, all AoE abilities. I'd be stupid to not give him S tier. He just provides so much. In pubs, he's phenomenal. If once you start learning him and setting him up, he's just too easy. Like his kit, he's just too easy. That's it. I don't know. That's all I can say. His kit is literally just too much. Next we got Rampage. Now Rampage is really strong jungler. Pretty annoying. His rock is really annoying. He can take so much damage late game. People don't know how to focus and all that stuff on him late game. That, he doesn't have necessarily crazy amounts of damage, right? But he's tanky. He's annoying. His CC is one ability, but he is the crowd control. So I have to give him an A. It's just that, he applies a lot of pressure. His ganks are pretty good. His clear is pretty good. His sustain's pretty good. The overall, I would rate him into an A right now. So next we got is Shinbi. Now Shinbi outputs a ton of damage. Her primary ability still requires a ton of mana when it comes to poking. That can be it can punish you. But she throws out a ton of damage, but she doesn't provide CC in the lanes that you need CC in, right? That's why I had to take her. I gotta put her into a B, maybe closer to a C. If you one trick her, she could be extremely strong, but like she just doesn't provide anything besides raw damage. A little bit of annoyance, but not that much, right? That's just kind of the issue I see with Shinbi. Next on the list, Richter. Now, I hate Richter. I think his kit's really broken by design. I think he's really overpowered. Not necessarily overpowered. His kit's broken by design. It's just that hook is so detrimental. If that hook hits you, it could literally be that changes the tide of the game. And that's, simply that is going to put him in A tier. He's tanky. He can be punished a bit, but he applies so much pressure himself and he provides so much of just everything, that he has to go into the A tier as a support, as an offlaner, even as a jungler. Even though the nerfs kind of hurt him a bit. He was an S tier before, now he's an A tier. Like, that's what I would say. Like, he was borderline S tier, if not S tier. I would put him as A tier. As people have learned to kind of counter him and what to play against him. So next we got is Seraph. Now Seraph is really strong. But once again, the thing with Seraph is you're losing. She's equivalent to Shinbi, a little bit more safer and better than Shinbi because of her Q and her E, allowing her to kind of displace herself, prevent damage being taken. And the tank build for her has been really strong. I recommend taking a look at, like, I think it was Lawbird, Tekken Kids build, Nitro's build. Those are high level players. They've been doing a really good job with her, and I'd rate her really well. So, like, I would say it's between a B and A tier. I'm gonna bias her towards a B a little bit because, kind of, once again, right? Like, there's other offlaners that I would rather have than a Seraph in my offlane, right? Because I think there's already enough damage in other lanes, in my opinion, to where a Seraph is better to have a tank, some sort of CC, you know. So next we got Fang Mao. Now Fang Mao throws out a lot of damage. He's an assassin. He's a very, especially right now with Omen being so strong, he could basically use all his abilities again in 2 seconds. But the thing is, it depends on the team comp a bit, where you really want to throw his power level around. I would still, once again, he's going to take up a lane that, like Shinbi and Sarah, is going to have CC. It's going to have, if you're going to go assassin, it's going to be a Kalari. That, you kind of want to go the Kalari because you're going to have the invisibility. You're going to be able to see wards. You're going to apply that damage with no one seeing you. He has escape. He has a lot of potential, a lot of damage, but it's just kind of borderline, in my opinion. I don't like to really see Fang Mao's with current meta overall right now. It's between A and B, and I've just seen a lot of people kind of, not necessarily doing as well with him to where I'd be comfortable. It's like saying that, he'd be very comfortably in A tier. It's borderline. It's A and B, but I'd rather see other people right now, in the off lane. Kwong, Crunch, for just as example. Steel, Zaris. We'll get to it. Next is Drongo. Now Drongo, phenomenal carry. The carry that can honestly contest TB. He applies a lot of utility. His primary is the blind. His ultimate pushes back and applies shred and gives him an escape and gives him damage. His rad rounds, his wastelander passive, it's percent HP. He's phenomenal. I'm gonna have to give him the S tier. He doesn't necessarily have a solid escape early game, but he outputs so much damage, and that ultimate being there for almost every fight is gonna borderline. It's gonna put me in S tier. With Demolisher being as strong as it is, and needed, he's gonna be an S tier. Now Faye, super duper strong. I like her a lot. Punishes every laner. The con is she doesn't have an escape, and she's really squishy. So with having the Chimera, having the Kalari, having the Crunch, as being popular jungle, Zaris, she's easily punishable. Now, she outputs so much damage, and if you know how to play properly, you can easily punish people. So I would say, like, if you are Faye one trick, you can dominate if that's what your goal is. She's borderline A and B tier right now for me. In lower levels, lower elo and all that stuff, I'd throw her into A tier easily. Higher level play, B tier. I think I'm going to go with the A tier on her because I'm kind of using my bias as a mid laner. That if you can perform with her, she is very, very strong still. And I've performed very well myself. So if I can perform, I believe y'all can perform, okay? Next on the list we got is Murdoch. Now Murdoch, really strong ADC. Not as much utility overall like Drongo and TB. But the ultimate's really good for securing kills and letting him scale from other lanes. He has his escape. He has his traps that can be huge during team fights. Repositioning the enemy team and all that. And he has some pretty good damage and sustain and everything. So I'm going to have to give him the A tier. Not in the S tier, but he's a very formidable opponent still. You can play him into these people. Just know that you're not going to come with that utility. You're just going to come with raw damage. Next we got is Belica. Belica's really strong. That nerf really didn't do anything to her. She's able to punish people very easily. You can take her support and you can take her mid lane. She provides so much utility. She's just so ridiculously strong that, like, she's too basic for me to say give her S, but she kind of does deserve it, in my opinion. Like, I'd put her there. Like, it's like between the S and A. My bias is that she's so boring. But, like, I think she's comfortable with it, with an S. I think you could definitely put her in S, and I think most people can agree that, yeah, she is up there. Next we got is Gadget. Now, y'all know me with Gadget. I love playing Gadget. She's very aggressive, but she falls off in a weird way as a scaling person. Her ultimate just feels to take too long to initiate. Same with her Q. Her E is only one person and it's only a root. She's just a problem. And I dislike her for pub stomps, but she does have her place in the meta in PCC and tourney play. So like I'm stuck between the A and B. I honestly would tell you guys to avoid in reality to avoid playing her. There's just so many fights that she becomes like ever so slightly useless. You know, it's just I don't know, like she just feels a little empty. That's kind of it. Everyone can escape her ult pretty easily. Her Q is damageable, but it's just she just feels like she's missing something, and it just hasn't come up. I don't know. I haven't felt anything for a while. I have to drop her down. I know I put her as an A tier. I think I gotta give her a B. Now Howitzer, super oppressive in lane, super strong, ton of damage output. CC with his secondary ability. Ultimate does a lot of damage. Mega Custom stacks really well with it. But the problem with Howitzer, right, is that if he doesn't have his ultimate, he's kind of crap. You know, I mean, you can see when all his abilities are up by looking at his model. Like when his thing's up on his head, that means his E is up and all that stuff. He's very predictable in a way. And I think that kind of punishes him. And he's very strong in lane, but he's very easy to get ganked, especially from people like Rampage, people like Richter, people like Crunch, you know, with how quick they are. Same with Chimera. If you time your ultimate right, you won't even fly up. You'll fly up, you'll get the stun, get a jump on him. So, you know, he's very strong, but he's not going to be an S tier for me. He's going to be an A tier. Very strong. Just know to play safe with your ultimate is down. Next, we got a Sevrog. Now, I like seeing Sevrogs because he is strong, but there's so much people that don't know how to play him properly. The only time, in my opinion, I get happy when I see a Sevrog is when I see a high-level player play him. And you got to learn him, you got to practice him. He's super strong. Let's try to get rid of any type of bias on it in terms of my games. If you were a well-skilled player, where would Sevrog be on this chart? I would take him into an A tier. I think he provides a ton of, you know, he has a sustain, he has damage, he has crazy ult, he has the gap close. You know, he has so much in his kit. But he can get punished early game by a lot of the characters being played right now. And if the person doesn't play properly, like PUB-STOMP, you want to keep a lead above you, right? He's going to take time, right? And it's something where I would bias him more to an A and B because he's going to take time to really scale up. So I'm going to put him into A because you'll always have that tank and CC effect that he has, right? But in terms of like his damage output and carrying, I put him towards a B, you know? And carrying in PUB-STOMPs. So I'm going to put him in A because he still can provide pretty solid utility. So next we got Sparrow. Now Sparrow outputs so much damage, but she needs the team comp. I'm going to have to take her and put her into a B, biased towards C, because it's kind of the same thing like as, you know, when you put Seraph and Shinbi, you know, Fang Mao, Gadget. She just doesn't have what the other ADCs have. You know, she has a ton of damage, but she doesn't have what the other carries have, right? If her ultimate's not up, she's going to fall off. And it's kind of easy to know when she's going to ult. You got to play around that. I'm going to have to put her at a B tier, biased towards C tier. Now, Steel is phenomenal. He is so strong. Percent HP on his alternate ability. Has so much CC. Easy to play in lane. Scales really hard. He's so punishing. He can be the equivalent of changing a fight completely. Borderline A and S tier. I'm going to put it into S tier because I think he just provides so much utility right now. I just have to. He just does so much. So next, we got Zarus. Now, Zarus is so detrimental right now. He's absolutely demolishing the meta. Detrimental. I think I said the wrong word. He's demolishing the meta right now. He is the strongest dueler in the off lane. Applies a lot of pressure. His ultimate is absolutely busted when you know they don't have flash and escapes. Punishes anybody that, you know, that doesn't have that. Just punishes the ADC, basically. I think no ADC can really escape his thing unless they have flash. Unless I don't know if phase pulls work effectively. It's just that he's so strong right now, right? I'm gonna have to give him the S tier. I get scared when I see Azarus on the enemy team. I get scared when I have Azarus on my team because I feel like, you know, the enemy team's Azarus is good, mine's gonna suck. But no, he's really strong, really good. Synergizes really well with a ton of the alts that are in the S tier overall. He's so strong. You can build him tanky, you can build him assassin. Right now, he's following the bruiser build, and he does so much with it. So I had to put him up there. So next we got is Kwang. Now Kwang is also a phenomenal character, but he counts a lot on the skill shots. That Q is very important to hit, and it's kind of a long cooldown throughout the game. He can sustain really, really well right now. I would bias him towards the S and A tier right now, but I'm gonna give him the A tier because he's just a bit on the harder side to kind of play. He has a lot of damage, a lot of sustain. It's just like it's tough. I mean, it's very close to an S tier. It's just right on the line that I'm going to bias him towards the A tier because I don't think he has the carry level potential, but he can help a team do such a good job when in fights. That if your team just has the tiniest amount of brain cells, right, the tiniest amount of PP scaling, you can get it. So I'm going to give him the A tier. Now we got this sad disappointment Grim right here, right? The sad boy Grim. Grim outputs so much damage, but he's too big. He too squishy. He doesn't have any. He's like Sparrow, but he's kind of worse. he's worse than Sparrow. He belongs in the C tier. I want to see what they're gonna do with the six items though, because that's what they said. They said RG Sauce said that 6 items is gonna make him really strong. We'll see. We gotta wait and see. But yeah, so this is my overall tier list. The only thing I actually think I want to change is I would actually take Kira and put her in A because I think she belongs there. She's better than a Sparrow because of her damage output on tanks and just constant. She'll always have that damage. Her build path is pretty easily. Her escape with her E or engage. Her Q applying the slow and ton of damage. Sorry, her Q being her primary. Her E being her secondary. I need to get into that. I'm starting to improve, guys. I promise. All right. But this is my overall tier list. That's kind of the only person I'd say I really would wanted to change from the back of my head, you know. But yeah, this is my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree with me. We can talk. I like to discuss this type of stuff. But this is what I would consider my PUB-STOMP tier list of who I would pick if I really wanted to look into PUB-stomping in a way with the current meta and the current patches and the current items that are being used right now. So yeah, if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and comment. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike, and I like to know why you left that dislike. But if you did enjoy and you want more videos of guides and gameplay, don't forget to subscribe. And I also stream on Twitch and on YouTube at 6 o'clock Eastern time. I try to do that every single day. But yeah, so on that note, take it easy. Have a good one. Good luck in your games. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.